What's up guys, so a while ago I was made aware of a video response made to me by Antonio Fletcher titled Professor Stick Gets Schooled. Now I know that this isn't the only response I've gotten another one by deflating and escaping atheism. Sorry YouTube, but I only really have the time and energy to respond to one of you, so I'm gonna pick Antonio since his video isn't an unscripted hour-long livestream and actually has some content in it. Your video was just rambling on and on without any real arguments. So yeah, Antonio is more worth my time. But don't get ahead of yourself, Antonio. That doesn't mean your video was good. And honestly, I'd rather make a video on someone else if I didn't get so many requests to respond to you. After this, I'll get back to my regular content and maybe make a video on the flat earth.
Today, we're going to show why Professor Stick needs to ask for his money back for his PhD, because the reasoning displayed in this video and his analysis on this fine gentleman named Alistair McGrath is at best on par with grade school, not college level school.
Well, at my university, PhD programs are fully funded, so I wouldn't be paying for a PhD. Funny how you just assumed I had a PhD though. You do realize that not all professors have PhDs, right? Alright, this is just a YouTube channel name, don't dwell too much into it. Anyway, I will be cutting out a bit of your video as I respond. Your video is over 26 minutes, and if I responded to everything, this video would be at least 45 minutes long. Since my videos are usually around 10 minutes in length, I will give you 10 minutes of my time.
I think one of the things I began to realize was that by its very nature, science was unable to answer a whole range of questions about meaning and purpose and identity.
I'm sorry that you're disappointed by that, but science cannot answer those things for us. Science only deals with things we can prove. It involves gathering evidence to discover the reality of the universe. Things like meaning and purpose are not things that you can empirically prove or test, because by definition those things are subjective, and science doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. I'm sorry that science wasn't enough for you, but to wander off and make shit up without any evidence or objectivity is not a good excuse to turn to theism.
Okay, now there are a number of different things I need to hit on here. To start, he's operating on the obvious assumption that science is necessarily objective, and such can be possibly further from the truth.
Well, science is objective, in theory at least. Science is a method, and this method is purely objective. Sure, there may be scientists who are subjective about certain things, but that doesn't mean the scientific method is subjective, because it isn't.
The fact of the matter is there are things in science which are subject to our own assumptions. For example, this is how Professor William Lane Craig put it in his debate with Peter Atkins years ago.
And finally, most remarkably, would be science itself. Science cannot be justified by the scientific method.
Fucking idiot! Science can't be justified by the scientific method? You do realize that science itself is the method, right? Craig here basically just said science can't be justified by science. Stupid as fuck. Don't quote William Lane Craig again. Surely you can come up with better arguments than him.
Science is permeated with unprovable assumptions. For example, in the special theory of relativity, the whole theory hinges on the assumption that the speed of light is constant in a one-way direction between any 2 points A and B.
That can hardly be considered an assumption. Really, the only way that the speed of light can change speed is if it passes through a medium. The speed of light in a vacuum, C, will always be constant. We understand this. We understand the laws of the universe. This has been studied, not by you obviously. And the speed of light is universally accepted to be constant. If it weren't, then our entire field of physics would be out the window. Literally, our reality would be different. In addition, even if you were right that saying the speed of light to be constant is an assumption, that still wouldn't mean science is subjective. Subjectivity means influenced by personal feelings or emotions. This has nothing to do with that. At best it would be considered a flawed understanding of physics, not subjective.
When he says science can only deal with things we can prove, he is either ignorant or deliberately ignoring when science starts from things which haven't been proven itself. And so, he has no room to simply criticize the gentleman being unsatisfied about things science doesn't explain.
Yes, I do have room to criticize people when they use unreliable methods to reach outlandish conclusions, especially when they spread this bullshit around to others. The scientific method is objective, no matter how much you deny it. You claim there are assumptions, but these are not assumptions. The medication you take is based on science. The computer you're using is based on science. If you think science is subjective and therefore cannot yield reliable results, then why do you trust your doctor? Why do you expect your computer to work? Why do you expect that the text message you sent to reach the other person? These are technologies that were invented from science. Let me know the next time a piece of technology is invented by prayer.
And furthermore, how does he know that the man just made S up without evidence or objectivity to go to theism, as he put it? Does he know the guy?
McGrath is a Christian, is he not? I don't need to know the guy personally for me to know that his belief system isn't based on evidence. You're a Christian yourself, aren't you? So I can tell that your beliefs of God are not based on evidence. If you think you do have evidence, feel free to fucking present them. I'll wait here. Except you probably won't get another video response by me, so tweet them to me, I guess.
We are barely over a minute into the video, and the professor already starts off with an outrageous and flat-out stupid assumption he has provided absolutely no basis for.
Ooh, I sense a little salt in your voice. Salty, salty, salty.
I think I began to realize that although science was wonderful, it had its limits, and that I wanted to go beyond those limits. In fact, more than that.
Mr. quote-unquote professor here just grilled this man for no reason, saying that things like purpose aren't things which are accessible by science by definition. It appears he truly once believed things like meaning and purpose were truly explainable by science, yet came to understand the limits later on.
Yeah, sure, I didn't deny that. I don't care if people go into science thinking they can have certain questions answered. What I do care is if people make shit up from unreliable sources.
It's like he's grilling the man as if he was supposed to have necessarily been aware from the beginning. Science does not. It kind of explain everything.
Okay, maybe you should watch my video a little more carefully because I wasn't grilling him for not knowing that science can't answer everything. Although that's a stupid thing to believe. Who the fuck goes into science expecting it to answer questions about the purpose of life?
We aren't even that far into this video, and I'm already sensing some massive arrogance and an outright irrational narrow-mindedness from Mr. Professor here. Let's give this guy a moment of silence for his stupidity.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Thank you. And now, we return to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, please don't do that again. You're gonna do that again, aren't you? I can see what you're saying. Oh, look, science can't tell us things that by their own very definition can't be objectively proven, so I'm gonna turn to theism.
Notice how this shallow prick is insulting his accent when he says turn to theism.
Are you kidding me? You think that was an attempt to insult his accent? That sounds nothing like his accent.
You, sir, already get another moment of silence for your outright not only stupid behavior, but for the fact it's already evident you are just an all-around terrible person who needs to be put in your place.
So soon? I didn't expect it to be that soon. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip that if you don't mind. Okay, look, if that really is the reason you're turning into a theist, then that's just ridiculous. Those questions you propose, the meaning and purpose of life, can be easily answered without turning into a theist. No, science cannot answer these subjective questions for you, so that's why you give yourself purpose and meaning. It may not be an absolute truth, but it can make yourself feel better. There are plenty of people who do that. Plenty of people who are not religious but come up with their own purpose to life. You could easily have been one of those people, but instead you turned to theism. Both you and these people made up life purposes. The only difference is that they get it from themselves while you get it from others.
Saying that all questions can be easily answered without becoming a theist is just an assertion. Even as a Christian, I don't claim all questions about meaning and purpose simply have easy answers in Christianity.
Did I say that the answers you get from Christianity were easy? I think you, sir, may need to rewatch my video.
He is making an egregious assumption, thinking that Alistair was merely looking for easy answers in theism, and he simply has no way to verify that at all.
Well, I do know that he's seeking out answers in theism. I never said they were easy. This guy's literally promoting Christianity in his video. Even though it's later on in the video, it's still pretty clear he's doing it. So no, I'm not making an assumption here.
And he piles on yet another assumption by generalizing both theists and atheists as if they all just simply make purposes for their lives.
Was I the one that mentioned that atheists and theists make up purposes for their lives? No, McGrath was claiming that turning to theism was able to give him the answers to questions, such as ones about the purpose of life, that science wasn't able to give him. I countered that point by saying you don't need a theist to answer those questions, that plenty of people make up their own purposes to life. You really need to rewatch the video, Antonio.
I think it's time yet for another moment of... Never mind, we'd never get through this video if we kept having to stop for a moment of silence for his outright stupidity.
You know what? I'm gonna give you a moment of silence. So how you guys doing? Doing good? Staying in school? I know you're supposed to be asleep right now. The fuck you doing watching this video? It's like 3 in the morning, man. How are you gonna get up for class tomorrow if you sleep this late? Don't drop out of college now and become like Antonio here. I broke the silence, didn't I? Oh wait, this counter has a ticking sound itself. Welp, guess that didn't work. Fuck this.
That if you're a human being, you are going to ask these deeper questions which science just can't answer unless it goes beyond its own natural and right limits.
The reason people tend to ask questions like that is due to curiosity, but also due to fear. A life without an objective purpose sounds frightening. The idea that there isn't a supreme being watching over us can be frightening. These questions humans ask are less about finding the truth to the world around us and more about escaping the truth. This is why an idea that can give us a delusion to escape this truth is very attractive, but just because it makes us feel better doesn't make it real.
Okay, first of all, people can go into or out of theism or atheism based on fear. Yes, it is true there are people who went into theism based on fear, but all the same is also true with atheism.
Really now, the only instances I've seen of people leaving religion did not involve fear at all. In fact, most of the cases are because people grew the fuck up and became skeptical. If people are scared of hell, for example, they would probably try to sin less or something to avoid it. Nobody chooses to disbelieve a religion because they're afraid of hell. Belief is something that is completely different and separate from emotion. When you convince someone of something, it is because it appealed to their logical thinking process, not their feelings. Now, of course, there may be exceptions, but I have yet to see anyone become an atheist due to fear.
There are many atheists who have claimed they used to be Christians who were indoctrinated with the fear of hell and felt like they were in a constant state of fear until they found atheism and thought it was rational, and over time atheism released them from that fear.
Well, you're gonna have to give me specific examples. Sure, I've heard atheists say that when they were religious, they were fearful, or they felt suppressed, or they felt confined. Sure. And after they became atheists, they had a huge burden lifted off their shoulders. However, for these people, you don't really see that being the major factor of their conversion. Usually, it may lead to questioning of their religion, such as why would a god do all this evil, which eventually lead them to atheism due to logic and reasoning.
Now, I don't accept for a second that genuine belief in Christianity is even motivated by fear. But even if I were to do so for the sake of argument, that would have absolutely nothing to do with whether Christianity is true or false.
Of course it has hardly anything to do with Christianity being true or not. Re-watch my video. You're not getting the point I was making. I wasn't using this as an argument to say if religion were true. I was mentioning this as a motive for people to seek out religion for certain answers. What I said was that reality can be harsh, it can be cruel, and when people adopt religion to escape this harsh reality, they will tend to dwell themselves within religion and relinquish any efforts to discovering what this truth is. This is what I meant by escaping truth, because we don't actually know what's out there yet, or what happens after we die, or if there's really anyone out there watching our backs. But to turn away and not look for this truth and instead submerge yourself in the waters of religion is escaping truth, but that itself doesn't mean religion isn't true.
The origin of how somebody comes to believe something has no bearing on whether that belief in question is true or false.
Yeah, I didn't say it does.
And it seemed to me that either I had to say this is just nonsense, or there is something there which science can't get access to, and I need to discover this.
Objectively speaking, how would you even know that there's something beyond science? Science is a method, so you're essentially saying that there's potentially something that we can't discover with the scientific method. In that case, there's no reason to ever believe that something like that even exists. Science is the best method we have to discovering truth to the universe. Anything other than that cannot give reliable results. So if you're looking for something that science cannot give, then essentially you can't prove it's ever there to begin with. And even if you do know for certain that something beyond science exists, there's no reason to ever turn to theism as a method to discovering this truth, because there are like an infinite number of ways you could try to learn about reality. The fact that you chose religion only shows that this is propaganda rather than an honest discussion.
He says, objectively speaking, how would Alistair know there is something beyond science? But a similar question can be asked of him, that how would he know that science is necessarily the maximal extent of how truth is ascertained?
Science is a method, and it is the most reliable method we have. It's not likely we'll find another method that works better than science. Surely you know how the scientific method works, right? Right? One of the greatest things about science is the fact that it's repeatable. Anyone can take someone else's experiment idea and conduct it themselves. In addition, papers are also peer-reviewed. Let me know when religion does something like that. Look, I'm not saying that science is the maximum extent in which we can learn about something. I'm saying it's the only reliable method we have.
He simply has no way to prove that at all. And it's interesting he says that something which cannot be discovered by the scientific method are to be considered things which reasonably do not exist. But how on earth would he go about proving that claim? It's just another assertion.
No, that's not a positive claim that needs evidence. This is not an assertion about the natural universe, but rather a critique on a method of discovery. In this case, all I need to do is reason for it, and I did. That entire chunk of my video you just played, I gave my explanation there. If you're still going to ramble on about how I can't back up my statement, then I highly encourage you to rewatch that segment.
You being a quote-unquote professor, sir, need to listen to your own line of reasoning.
What a great place to stop. Wow, would you look at that? I gave you more than 10 minutes of my time. Fucking suck my dick now. Oh, and Mr. Spark, don't think I forgot about you. Seriously, you're gonna mirror Antonio's shitty video on your channel? You couldn't make a response to me yourself? After all, the video of Alistar McGrath was from your channel. You know, the one you just plagiarized? But what did I expect? I'll be waiting for Antonio to respond to me again, but this is the last you'll get from me. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll be playing my outro now.